Welcome to the heart of Clay County Schools, where the spark of learning keeps us cool. We got our Clay Elementary, the middle and high. Together we're reaching for the sky. It's the positive pulse, so let's celebrate with stories of success that motivate. Bright minds, big dreams, futures to see, putting a legacy for you and me. Tune in, stay close to the beat. Positive pulse, can't be beat.
Today we have three guests with us that we are going to talk to about school delays due to weather, school cancellations, and early outs due to weather. We have Dr. Samples, Assistant Superintendent, Jared Fitzwater, who is Transportation Director, and then our IT Director. So first, how many days are required by statute that we have school, and how do we come up with these snow days that we're allowed to call school off or early dismissals or delays?
Actually, West Virginia Code 185-45 outlines the entire process for school calendar, how many days counties are required to provide instruction for students, and that's 180. We have to have 180 instructional days for students. And it also provides that there are certain programmatic levels of instructional minutes for students. Like for students in grades K through 5, they have to have 315 minutes of instruction every day. Students that are in grades 6 through 8 have to have 330, and students that are in 9 through 12 have to have 345 minutes every day. Now, of course, you're going to have times when school has to be canceled because of inclement weather, power outages, water outages, emergency situations like that. So in order to help schools make up that lost instructional time, this section of West Virginia Code allows county school systems to add a bare minimum. They have to add at least 30 minutes of instructional time to each of those programmatic levels to earn time to make up for the time lost when inclement weather outages or whatever occur that cause school to be canceled. Of course, that increases your elementary up to 345, your middle school to 360, and your high school to 375 every day that you can have.
So when you say 30 minutes, you mean 30 minutes per day?
Per day. Yeah,
okay.
Throughout the instructional term, you can do that to make up for times when school has to be canceled. Now, limit obviously to that, and we call it bank time. They call it in code equivalent time. But for county school systems, we're banking time to make up that lost time out of that 180 days. And we get 5 days that we can do that. And that's what we all call here our snow days. Those are our days that we get out and students aren't necessarily working on instruction and employees aren't actually in buildings working as they normally would be.
Because they've already made that time up through the school year.
Because they've already made that time up through the school year through that bank time or equivalent time.
Okay.
But when you exhaust that equivalent time and you've used those 5 days up, then you go into what's called non-traditional instruction, or NTI. You'll see it a lot of times on things that come from the State Department of Education. And that's when we have to come up with an alternative plan that will count as instructional days. And that's when we do things like our remote learning, where students are on their laptops or their iPads or whatever digital device they use to interact with their teachers and complete instruction. And we have 5 of those days.
Right. So far this year, we've used 4 of our traditional snow days, as we call those. So we have 1 more of those left, plus the 5 non-traditional days. So what happens if we have enough snow days or enough school cancellations that we use both the 5 traditional and the 5 non-traditional? Then what?
If that would happen and we would exhaust all 10 of those days, we have to add days to our calendar at the end of the year. We have to make up those days. That's when we have to make up time with actually increasing or adding on to the school calendar.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Mr. Fitzwater, we'll turn now to actually calling a snow day or a delay. And so we utilize, there's 3 of us normally. Myself, I travel. If there's suspected bad weather, we think there's bad weather, bad roads, then I normally drive the Big Otter to Ivydale, across the bridge, and then up towards Wyden and circle all the way back down to Clay. Then you, if you don't care, what areas do you check out? What areas do you drive?
I go down Route 4 towards Queens Shoals, across over, and to Beaumont, pretty much that area.
Then we have our security officer, Randy Holcomb. He normally he takes across Heartland Bridge towards the Lismore area. And then what we do, just so folks know, is if the road conditions warrant a 2-hour delay, we call that. Or if we have to go ahead and call a cancellation, we do that. But we send pictures to each other so we can kind of see what the road looks like. And we've had some of those this year where we've had to call delays and cancellations. But while we drive, I want to give a shout out to the state road, Department of Highways in Clay. I'm sure from your end, anytime there's inclement weather, there's always those trucks out there with they're treating roads. You got the same in your area?
Yeah, every time I've been out this year, salt has been on the road. Trucks have been out moving, making sure that road conditions are safe for our drivers to be on.
Yeah, and what we do too is if we're going to make an error, it's going to be on the side of caution.
Right.
So we try to call, if we think there's going to be a delay or cancellation and it looks as though that we're going to have to call that, we try to call that the night before, normally by 7 p.m. And that gives our employees notice, our students, but also our parents, because a lot of times parents have to make alternative plans. There are times when that's not the case, to where here recently we had a school delay, and then it wasn't till later in the morning before we called the cancellation. So maybe what's that like? If you could talk about that a little bit. I know from my end, we look at the weather radars. We go out and drive the roads ourselves, and then of course we have to then become weather predictors. We have to be able, to kind of within reason determine if the roads are unsafe.
Obviously, we spend a lot of time looking at the radars. We log on to see what other counties are doing, to see if the storm's moving in our direction. Other counties have closed, canceled. And a lot of times we're out. It depends on what time the storm hits. We try to call it the night before, like you said. We get out 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, trying to call before employees travel to their work site. Sometimes that's impossible because the storm hits at 4 o'clock. And it takes us a little while to figure out what we're going to do and call it.
Right. So we've made that determination. We're going to call a 2-hour delay. That's where this next person comes in. So, Mr. Proclus, would you care to step over and join us? Okay, so once the call's been made, let's say it's an easy one, so it's done by 6:30 in the evening before. So what calls do you have to make? What are the steps?
There are 5 different components that we use to let people know that will either be delayed or canceled. I think the 2 most important are the West Virginia Department of Education school closings map and Facebook.
Stop right there. So, okay, Facebook's important. Obviously, most people have that. What was the one, the West Virginia Department website, the closure map?
Yeah.
How do parents see that? How can I see that?
You can go to Google. Basically, the easiest way is just to go to Google and search WVDE school closings, and you can even set up, I believe, on the website to get notified from them if we go on a 2-hour delay. So if you wanted another form of notification, it would send you a text.
So it has a list. We always see the list, but there's also a
there's
closure
also a map. There's a blue URL toward the bottom of that list that says look at it like on a map view.
Okay.
So you can look in the map view or the list view, and typically if you click on our county, when you go in there, it'll bring up our own page, and you'll actually see why we're closed. We can say either inclement weather or power outages. Stuff like that.
Okay, so you post it on Facebook, WVDE is notified, then what?
Then we also post it on our website. We post it on the news channels, and then we also have the call-out system. And if I think we might be canceling school in the morning or on a delay, I normally try to have that recorded so we can get it out as fast as possible. But the reason I said I like to do the WVDE site and Facebook as the 2 primary ones, the 2 quickest ones I like to get out, is that gets it out there immediately. Our call-out system has to dial 2,250 some numbers. So that's why I prefer to get it out there, but sometimes it'll take an hour to get all those calls out, and some people may not be notified by call, until 45 minutes after we put the message out there. So I think Facebook and WVD are the two quickest and immediate ones to get out there. So those are the two I like to highlight. And then the news channels, the call, and our website.
Okay, so I'm a parent and I'm not receiving the calls. Maybe my number's not in the system. What steps do I need to take in order for the school to know to put my number in the system to receive Sarah, the school messenger calls?
There could be several reasons why you're not getting the calls, and probably the easiest way is to reach out to the school and they can reach out to me. Sometimes people accidentally, at the end of those messages, you can request to have your number removed. Some people accidentally hit that button, and then sometimes people will say they didn't get the call, and I'll go in and according to our system it says it reached the machine, and I don't know if maybe it just hit their voicemail and didn't leave a message, or it was just a glitch in the machine. So just be sure if you're not getting the calls to reach out.
Okay, so if we call a 2-hour delay the night before, what time do you normally get up? I know Jared and I normally get up 3:30 or so and start driving around. So
Definitely not 3:30, but
Okay.
I typically like to set my alarm for 4:35, just so that way I'm fully awake if you guys were to call, because I don't want to be half asleep when you guys call, and then it takes me 20 minutes to wake up and get everything out. I'd like to.
thank you very
All right.
much. So, Mr. Fitzwater, if we see the weather's turning bad or predicted to be bad, the roads become treacherous, and we want to send students home. So how quickly can we get the buses here lined up and students actually depart from Clay County schools?
Once we make the determination we're going to send the students home, we like to allow an hour to get everything organized, make sure the students are fed, have lunch ready to go home, get the buses lined up, and get them ready to go.
So do we sometimes, I know, and the viewers may not, but sometimes when students get here, we keep bus drivers on standby.
Yes.
What does that mean if we have them on standby? Can we turn them around a little quicker?
It still takes 45 minutes to an hour to get organized in the school and then get the buses here. I mean, if it's a dire emergency, we could do it probably
45 maybe.
Yeah. Our main goal is to minimize risk to maximize safety.
Our next podcast, we will be spotlighting Big Otter Elementary.